With a devastating display against fellow favourites for the Tiger Cup title, Indonesia, Thailand have confirmed themselves as the team to beat in the 2000 tournament.
Gone beautifully. Kiatis will play through. Here's a chance. And the third goal. What a brilliantly taken goal. And Zico does a marvellous job at celebrating.
With a passage to the semi-finals confirmed, the Thais will have their foot off the pedal. That could present the Philippines with the opportunity to grab a shock result here in Chiang Mai. It's the final Group A match between Thailand and the Philippines, and you can see it live here on Star Sports. And of course, the key word there is could give the Philippines a chance. Hi there and welcome to our second match in this double-header from Group A in the Tiger Cup here on Star Sports. The Philippines, minnows, if ever there were minnows, up against Thailand, a side that really looks as if it should walk away with this Tiger Cup tournament. Well, I'm joined once again by Jamie Reeves for this one. Scott O'Donnell's shuffled away after watching a 5-0 demolition by Indonesia of Myanmar, which has now made this, well, look as if Thailand just need the point. Obviously, they topped the group. They should do it, shouldn't they?
Well, it would be a major upset, wouldn't it? I can't believe that there'd be any result other than a Thailand win. But I think they're the best team in the tournament. Philippines, I suspect, are actually the worst side. OK, tough talking once again. Let's have a look at the goals that saw Indonesia, who, remember, needed to win that match against Myanmar, saw them home. Myanmar only needed a draw. Now, this fella, Gendut Kristiawan, good striker. He was aided by a deflection there, the first goal coming just a couple of minutes before half-time after Myanmar had put up a good defensive effort. Well, Gendut turned nicely. He scored, incidentally, against Thailand in Indonesia's 4-1 defeat, and he opened up the scoring there. Then the second half, well, it was a rout. That was Bima with the shot. First to react was Gendut once again. Good save initially by the keeper. The wall was an absolute disaster. But Gendut got there first. As you can see, the wall did no job whatsoever. Lance Corporal Koko Ong, unfortunately, in goal, beaten. And then from this point on, it was the Kurniawan show. He sets this goal up for Uston. Superb play by Kurniawan, and Uston with the finish. In fact, Kurniawan's just coming into the kind of dangerous form that might serve him well and his team well in the semi-final. So that was a setup for Uston, and then that was 3-0. The next two goals were to go to the man himself, Kurniawan. This one, he made a lovely touch. It's Aji Santoso. Bit lucky that it came to Kurniawan. Nothing lucky about the finish. Got his foot over the top of the ball and did a little dance. Very nicely done. Jamie Reeves is sitting next to me, stunned, impressed by this play. And I tell you what, I'll tell you that Kurniawan scores this next one. You talk us through it, Jamie. Well, I thought he might be just offside there, John. I was watching the game when you were calling it. Not him offside, obviously the ball being played in.
Aji, yeah.
Kurniawan's a good player. He has been for a number of years. He's slightly underachieved, really. Yeah, I think he was fractionally offside, Aji, there. But this is good finishing. You've got to follow those up because that was just going to drift wide of the post.
So, as this group had looked as if it was going to be very interesting indeed, with Myanmar remember just needing the point there, it wasn't to be. Indonesia bouncing back from the 4-1 defeat with a 5-0. So now we find ourselves focusing on a Philippines side which has been beaten 3-0 in its two matches so far. And those defeats at the hands of Indonesia and Myanmar, you have to wonder what will Thailand do if they get themselves in the right frame of mind for this one. Well, obviously, Jamie, we get to the situation where first and foremost Thailand have to win the group because that will give them the easier of the matches. It would be probably Malaysia or Singapore, would it? Or we don't know yet.
It'll have to be Malaysia or Singapore.
OK, Vietnam will go through top and Malaysia and Singapore will be the second place. You've got lineups through. Are they resting key players? Any major surprises?
Well, not major surprises. Chokatawi's not playing and also Dusit's rested. They both got yellow cards. They don't want to pick up a second yellow card and be suspended. Outside of that, Surachai, the defensive Surachai, is still out of action because he got that nasty knock in the first game. The rest of it is the main lineup. I think Peter Withe will say, let's win the game. One thing, don't get hurt. Two, don't pick up a yellow card. But
you know, the other factor, and this is good to see because we're at the Chiang Mai Sports Complex, which now is full of people who want to watch a football match. There weren't many there for the first match, which is a great shame because we had an important game of football played out in front of a half-empty stadium. There's a full crowd there, and the Thais do not like to disappoint their fans.
Oh, absolutely not, and they love their football, and Peter Withe will not allow them to go out there and underperform. He expects 100%. He always gave it as a player. He demands it now he's a coach as well.
Quite right too. He came up with a lovely quote the other day after that 4-1 thumping of Indonesia. He said there's a lot of serenity in this squad right now. So Peter Withe's learning a lot of these Asian values. I can see his time in land of the smiles is really doing him a lot of good. But the Philippines, Jamie, tell us a bit about them. I mean, I think we might have been a bit disrespectful to the Philippines by suggesting that they haven't got a hope here. But they've brought in a couple of foreign players a la Lebanon, I suppose, in a way, haven't they? Scoured the four corners of the world for players who can...
It's a country that doesn't really play football. It's a baseball and basketball country. But they've got Daniel Sled, I think his name is. They've shipped him in from America. He's a Filipino-American. He's come in. Physically, he's a bit more imposing. The rest of the team, well, the Figueiredo family figure prominently.
As they would, thank you very much.
Yeah, Norman, the captain, is very experienced. His cousins play in this time. I think he's Troy. And the kid brother Dave is on the subs bench this time. Speedy Gonzalez, you mentioned, plays in Calais.
Freddie Gonzalez, please, if you will.
Sorry, Freddie Gonzalez. Plays in Calais in France, but Calais is not exactly a sort of major contender in France. Really, they're bits and pieces, and they haven't been together very long, and they do play a disjointed game. They're really
Calais got to the League Cup final, Jamie, and it might well have been Speedy Gonzalez who was to thank for it. So I don't know. I'm gonna go for the Philippines here. Ever go for the underdog? It has to be said. Realistically, no. Just quickly, I suppose, as you said, job done for Thailand. No injuries, no yellow cards, and a question of professionalism.
A question of professionalism, and I think one or two players might fancy a few goals. I think Katisuk might fancy top goal scorer, and also the big man, Warrawut, might fancy knocking in a few goals. Everyone likes to win the Golden Boot.
All right, Jamie, thanks very much. I'll let you get down to some commentary duties. So it's what we're expecting to be something of a David and Goliath encounter from Chiang Mai, and who better to call it, hopefully impartially, than a David himself, because standing by to give us a match call on this one as we see the dignitaries being introduced to the two sides is David Bashir.
Thanks, John, and welcome to Chiang Mai, in the stadium where Thailand will hope to end the group in victorious fashion. There's Kiatazuk, who's got the captain's yellow armband on with the injury to Surachai Jadarapadirapong. The captain was injured in the last match and won't be playing. I think he could play, but obviously Peter With is not prepared to risk such an experienced player at this point of the tournament. It's not exactly 100% full, but certainly the crowd building up in Chiang Mai for this last group match between the Philippines and Thailand. Zico scored a magnificent goal in that 4-1 victory over Indonesia. Beautifully finished off his left boot, and he's full of smiles in the land of smiles. There is Nuiat, one of the fullbacks. Tawat Chai is into the team, and they'll make a number of changes for this match. Warrawat, the big striker, did very well in that match against Indonesia, scoring twice. And the Philippines have made a couple of changes themselves, but I think when we talk of miracles and unlikely results, you have to group those two in this category for the Philippines to have any chance. And there's 4 changes for Thailand, the home side. Anyaruk comes in, Shuki at the number 7. Turdsak comes into the middle of the park for Tawan Shripan. And the other change is Surachai Jirasirachot, who's into the defence for Thailand. And for the Philippines, Edmundo Mercado's done a very good job in goal. Marco Nato will anchor the defence. And Temperosa is another player coming into their lineup. There's the Thai bench. And a full moon, well, maybe that's an omen for the Philippines. Who knows? Norman Figueiredo's the captain for the Philippines. He's one of 3 Figueiredos in the lineup. Troy and his brother David. Troy is starting, and the referee for this evening's match is Win Van Mu of Vietnam. There's Peter With. You just wonder how long he'll stay as the Thailand national coach. I'm sure a lot of other national federations around the world will be looking to Peter With's contribution to Thailand, and indeed his success in taking the country from a side in the Asian region to quite a force in the Southeast Asian region, and one that in the Asian Cup for years to come will certainly be feared. And you just wonder, Jamie Reeves, whether a Peter With will be picked up by one of the big Gulf nations perhaps in the future.
Well, that's a possibility. I think Peter will stay with Thailand as long as they continue to improve. I think once he feels that they've plateaued, I think that's when he'll move on. and at the moment they're still moving upwards. They acquitted themselves well in the last Asian Cup. Next time around, they've got to move just a stage further. They've got to win a game in that sort of a level of competition, and maybe do a little bit better in World Cup qualifiers. I think that would be a big challenge for Peter.
Philippines in the red, Thailand in the blue, and the first half underway in Chiang Mai. And it will be very interesting to see the way Thailand approach this match. I'm sure that they'll be looking to put early pressure on the Philippines, but a sign of their maturity will be the way they handle the tackles and indeed running out the 90 minutes. There's no point leaving your best form in the group stage, and I'm sure Peter With would have impressed that on the players before the match.
I think the trick for Thailand will be to kill the game fairly early on, get a couple of goals ahead, and then just play a little bit of possession football, treat it as a training outing. One doesn't like to be too disrespectful of the Philippines, but they are one of the weakest footballing playing nations around the world. Some talk about an ASEAN national competition played home and away each year, and it's had a lot of enthusiastic support. Some people have suggested maybe 2 divisions, because obviously Laos, Cambodia, Philippines not quite able to compete against these more powerful nations.
Also some talk too of the Asian Federation funding a European coach or a South American coach to the Philippines. I think that's a very good idea. They've done it, or they've assisted with other nations who have improved out of sight, such as Vietnam, and Cambodia's on the way up as well. But you made a good point about the Philippines taking a lot of influence from American sport with basketball and so forth, and baseball. So it means soccer, or football as we'd like to know it, is down on the list of priorities. There's Tanachai, who was a very good player out wide against Indonesia. He gave Thailand a lot of bite and drive, and Edmundo Mercado has been a very solid goalkeeper. I'm sure he would have raised a lot of interest outside his home country with his exploits in goal for the Philippines, and he'll be, I'm sure, tested this evening. 2 minutes in, the Philippines have possession. There's Turtsak, the number 8, who hasn't started yet in the tournament, his first effort. A chance to impress the coach, because Toan Chripan has certainly taken his mantle as the architect out of midfield. And they get forward with a useful ball in. Fairly well defended, but, well, he's given the penalty. I'm not sure that that was deserved of the challenge, but the spot is pointed to by Win Van Mule.
Well, David, I actually, second time around, there looked a little bit more contact than when I saw it first time, but it's really minimal. I think that's a very harsh decision.
Well, seeing as though the Philippines player had front position, and then it was neck and neck, and he really had eyes for the ball, there was contact made, but I think that's where the referee has to employ a little bit of common sense. Well, there's a penalty now to the Thai team. And Kiatasuk, the captain, puts it away. 1-0 early on, and that's going to make it very difficult. And that's a very, very composed backflip from Kiatasuk, but one that perhaps was not deserved of the challenge by the Philippines defender.
Oh dear, when you're the underdog like that, you really don't need a decision like that to set you back after just 3 minutes. Nicely tucked away, the penalty. He's a nice clean striker of the ball, and I fancy he'll be looking for at least a hat-trick tonight. Let's have a look at that again. Nips in front, and I don't think the defender actually deliberately made any play at the man. I think that I think that's a shocker.
Ball driven into the back post this time. There's a player in the middle who's now onside. Good piece of work this. It's clipped to the near post, and a chance for the second. Kiatasuk again, I think. In fact, Warawat, who scored a brace of goals against Indonesia, trying to get in on the action earlier here.
He's going to cause them problems in the air, isn't he, Warawat? He's one of the biggest players in Southeast Asian soccer. Look at him, he's like a giant in there.
well offside when the cross came in. It has to be said. The original ball in, the defence was all rushing out as the Thais were coming forward. That was a good decision, the first one to play on. And the Filipino side looks very naive tactically.
Almost a way through there for the Philippines. And this is where it'll be interesting if they get a little bit of ball in midfield, which they're quite capable of. They've got a couple of useful players, Marlon Pinheiro and Norman Figueiredo. Both have got good techniques. I'm sure Peter With wouldn't want to be seeing the defence go to sleep and lose concentration. It'd be appealing to them. Obviously, everybody's expecting Thailand to win, including the players and the coach, but the manner of victory is going to be very important for them.
Agreed. They won't want to get into sloppy habits, will they? And it's nice because Peter With has got good competition within the squad for places, so the guys who are out there don't want to put up a sloppy performance. Otherwise, they might find themselves on the subs bench for the semi-finals. Especially in midfield, he's got 5 or 6 there, and there's not much to choose between them. I think the guys he's got out there are pretty much on a par with Tawan Sripan and Surachai. So that, you know, that'll be good tonight.
Player nipping around there. Turdzak is one of those players that is trying to fight for first team place. Throw into Thailand. Chance to spread it out wide to the right. This man will do a bit of damage if given an opportunity. Tanachai. Good flick on. Has a chance for Kiatasuk. Turdzak finds his man with a beautifully weighted ball. Doesn't control it with the first touch, though. And every time they get into that penalty area, the crowd, the volume goes up here in Chiang Mai. And you would love to tap that sort of atmosphere for every match, but that's not the case, and certainly very difficult in any continental type tournament. World Cup's a totally different fare where you get travelling fans for the full month, but perhaps we expected a few more travelling for the Singapore and Malaysian matches at least. A few supporters out for Vietnam, which is good to see. The Philippines have possession. The ball attempted in behind the defence, but a little bit too direct. And there's Wirat. He was useful in that match against Indonesia. He made one mistake from memory. That really marked Thailand's favouritism on this tournament. They did it in such emphatic fashion. Very good energy levels, great application, and good technique in victory too. A couple of goals were taken in superb fashion. Here's Tanachai. Clipped into the area, back post, free man. The flag was up on Warawat.
Not so sure the linesman got that one right. Let's have a look. No, he's well onside, wasn't he, when the ball was played?
Like he was about 2 feet onside. It's quite amazing.
And they can afford just to play balls up to the far post because Warawat should win everything in the air.
That was Surachai, Jiro Surachai.
Yes, I think in the preview I got my Surachais mixed up there. It's good to see this one back and fully fit because they need him in the heart of the defence. It's the one area that I feel that perhaps they don't have too much cover. Mind you, they may not have to do too much defending either.
You made a point about the other Surachai, the captain, how in that first match, I think, from memory, he was a little bit down on form, but fought very hard, scored a second half goal. I think they're just resting him, 31 years of age. Perhaps he plays like a player that will pick up the odd injury in a match. And for the semi-finals, he's such an inspirational character. Peter With figures that give him a breather and get him right for the semis. Free kick for Thailand here. Tanachai on the angle. Warawat will be the target. Quite obviously, he's the biggest figure in the area, but Kiatas looks very useful in the air as well. Clipped in low. Not enough carry in the air for the big striker. It's a poor ball, just bombed very high. It may fall here for Thailand. That's a shocking clearance, and there's a man on the right. And poor distribution, and the corner given away. Well, 3 mistakes in a row. And a very unconventional one for Edmundo Mercado, who's been extremely solid in the Philippine goal. Early corner for the Thais, and that was the ball in question from Thanon Sak. Not sure he was expecting it that direct, the goalkeeper. Third-Sak, Thanon Chai. Here's Third-Sak playing a lovely ball through, and that is a clear foul. Very well milked by the number 8.
Yes, nothing else on. I don't think he was expecting to get through there. Just 1 against 1. They've got too much football about them, I think, the Thais.
See how they organise themselves from the set piece here. Third-Sak to the back post. And a chance, just tipped over. I think he had it fully under control there, Mercado. But a useful header nonetheless.
I think Third-Sak is a nice deliverer of the ball. Just a looping header, but the keeper's not the biggest player. Could have looped into the far corner.
And they've brought the big band out as well here in Chiang Mai, which is always adds to the atmosphere. And he was clearly offside there, Kiarazuk. Always giving a full smile to the crowd. He's a real showman as well as a sensational player. I think that's part of the reason and his attraction to the Thai fans. Makes him such a superstar in his home country. And I think what we've seen, I think Peter With was making the comment, Jamie, that very surprised that he can't find a first team spot at Huddersfield. And on what we've seen, he's a very, very good player. It's very surprising he's such a good ball player that he can't force his way through. Maybe, perhaps, that's not the league for him.
Well, it's the physical side. I would have thought that he could easily get a game in Europe somewhere, but perhaps in one of the less physically robust leagues, like the French league, perhaps. I think he's probably quite pleased not to be in the UK at the moment, the weather they have him back there.
Thanon Chai, that's a poor ball. And the floods continue in the UK. France or Belgium may be a league that could suit him. He's got excellent touch, a great instinctive footballer. And another corner here for Thailand. Thanon Chai drives it low to the near post. Third-Sak returns the favour back to the wing back. He's clipping it in now again to that near post area. Good work by Kiarazuk. It's on. Square ball played in, spreading it around quite nicely. But fair organisation by the Philippines defence, who push up nicely, making it very difficult for the moment to break down.
Thai's not actually getting behind the defence on the flanks at the moment.
Flag stays down, and the chance for the second, yes. It's put away. More than the suspicion of offside there, as the Philippines players look over to the assistant, but it's a goal by Anyaruk, and the second for Thailand. The replay will be very interesting.
I must admit, my instinct is actually that he was onside there. I thought he timed his run very well, Anyaruk. Better known for scoring great shots from long range. We can't really judge. Oh, he's well onside, wasn't he, David? And although the Philippines do get a lot of bodies back, one does feel that their organisation is not of the best. Thought for a moment the keeper was going to bring him down and we'd have 2 penalties in the first, 10 minutes or so.
Very, very comfortable position for Peter With. So 2-0 after 14 minutes. I don't think the pain is over for the Philippines. manner of the goals have been very casual.
They move the ball around nicely, the Thais, don't they? It's nice and fluid.
Temperosa under pressure and just clearing out for the throw into Thailand. Turnsak's a very good crosser of the ball. Useful from the dead ball situation as well. Flick wide, Tanachai makes his run. Cuts back inside. Good skills to the back post. Carried away and a chance there, but good take at the second attempt by Mikado. It had to be clean there because there was a player at that back post threatening. Another useful ball picking out Tanachai. He's been a more than useful player in the early stages.
Obviously very wet out on that right flank. Keeps losing his footing, doesn't he, as he goes to cross the ball.
Warawat into the middle. Kiarazuk there, but he was wedged between two defenders. A good challenge for the Philippines to see how much damage they can minimise, because they won't have played a more classier lineup than Thailand. Albeit they're missing 4 players. They've certainly got ample replacements. Driven in low. Trying to take on the volley there was Kiarazuk. Would have been a spectacular goal if it came off. We saw a very, very good volley last night, I think, from memory in the Cambodian match. The number 9 on the turn.
Suketra, was it? Ah, yes.
Brilliantly taken volley. It was a very similar position. Kiarazuk. There's a chance. Tursak making the run through the middle, but blocked off by 2 defenders. Some of the goals in this tournament have been of a very high quality. Some of the defending hasn't. It's just a part of learning to play at this level. Kiarazuk this time wide, trying to pick out Warawat, but didn't have the carry. He'd tower over the defenders. He'd have to stand about 6 foot, 6'1".
Well, I think he's all of that. I'm a bit surprised that they're driving the crosses for Warawat. There's really no need for that. They could just do big curling, looping crosses and allow him to judge his run. Because I fancy actually jumping against the goalkeeper, he could probably beat him in the air.
I think Warawat could be well advised to commence his runs from a little bit of a deeper position, encouraging the wide players to give the ball some height and loop.
He's having the freedom of the park, isn't he, over on the right flank there. Tanachai.
They're keeping their concentration well, Thailand, not making too many mistakes. Surachai. Look at the freedom they've got ahead of midfield, yards in front of his marker. And that's another low ball. This time Warawat was flat-footed, took a deflection off the defender. Marco Nato has got the colour through the hair. Good surging run, but the final touch just getting away from the number 22, Temperosa. Another long ball finds its mark. Tanachai with his umpteenth cross this half, and a good fist away by Mikado.
Did well, the keeper there. Did very well. Timed his run very nicely.
Will he shoot? Yes, he does, on the bounce, and a chance here. Yes, Kiarazuk will score. Mistake by the goalkeeper, pounced on, and Zico gets his second. No backflip this time, but it's 3-0 in Chiang Mai.
given offside here. As Kiatisuk's tucked this in, I think he's given Warrawat offside. Maybe he's given Warrawat offside when the first shot came in from Anyaruk. Yes, that's where the ball's being placed. I think that's why there was no backflip, David.
Pretty late call.
Well, it was one of those, if the shot had gone straight in, then Warrawat
Was onside.
was okay. But once it's rebounded, he was affecting the play. Actually, I'm not sure that was such a good call all round, but maybe that squares it up for the penalty earlier on. Just shooting practice, really, for Thailand.
It's been a barrage for the Philippines defence. First 20 minutes of play. Actually been no activity in the Thai half.
I'm not quite sure where they rank now, David, but I know a few years back when they played in the SEA Games in Singapore, Philippines were actually ranked the bottom team in the FIFA rankings of teams. So they have no great history of playing the sport well.
What can you do when you've got a big population like the Philippines with no history in the game? Is it incumbent on the Asian Federation to initiate something, do you think?
I think so. And you have to start with little pockets of excellence. You can't spread it nationwide initially. You have to target a certain area and try and cultivate a few teams and get them involved with playing more often. I think this idea of the ASEAN teams playing internationals home and away each year is an excellent idea. I know Laos were saying this is great. I'll break off, David. Oh no, it's not going to be under pressure. Laos was saying, you know, we come to these tournaments, we play 3 games, we go home. If we played home and away throughout the season, then we might get as many as, say, 14, 16 international matches in a year. We can learn so much more as a result of it. The only thing is, of course, the finance.
Do you think countries like Malaysia are just worried that it will impact on their domestic competition? The fact that they may have what is akin to national teams playing regularly?
Well, the Malaysian league plays on the weekends, and there's no reason why they couldn't play midweek.
Great ball in for Kiatisuk, who keeps it in. And was there the flag up? I think it was for offside. Kiatisuk didn't see it.
It's a poor decision. Oh,
Another one,
dear.
he was onside clearly. That linesman has got it wrong twice. Once he didn't call offside, and twice the player's been onside, and he's flagged him off.
In fact, he was played on by 2 players there, wasn't he? Very difficult for the linesman, to be fair. You know, you can't really be looking at the 2 things at the same time. I did see the other week they've actually invented a device which allows them to judge those.
I was going to say, I think it's a German inventor. Certainly an inventor from Europe that is putting his idea to FIFA. There'd be some nervous assistants out there. But if you can take human error out of an element of the game, why not? I think they've done it in cricket with the 3rd umpire.
They've done it in tennis, haven't they, with the line calls and so on. But the tennis players say that they don't always get it right, the magic eye.
I'm sure the mistakes are far outweighed by the correct calls that would have been missed. On the side of human error.
Thailand playing at about, what, 40% of capacity here.
Driven in low, dummy there by Turdzak. A chance here for the cutback, but didn't have the depth required. Warrawat was well placed in the middle. The play cutting back with Thanonsak, who's the other fullback that gets forward down the left. Tananchai is the wide player down the right. Look how far the defence is up. It's almost a halfway. It's a another dummy that didn't come off, in possession now with the Philippines. Can they string a few passes together? No more than one. Chai, Fernand Sak. Time just to sum up the situation now. Player presents himself. It's third sack, long range shot comes in. Clipped in now, but two players offside there. There's a lone figure up front for the Philippines, Freddy Gonzalez. A couple of times has been tagged Speedy. He's got a bit of pace. Plays in France, as we've mentioned before. And hopefully suggests to a lot of the young players in the Philippines that if you're good enough, you can go overseas regardless of what country you play in.
Crowd's gone very quiet at the moment, David. I think they're expecting an avalanche of goals here.
Got a bit of a carnival atmosphere about it, the crowd. Just chatting away. And here's Nguyen. He's a very solid defender. Diagonal ball missed its target by a mile. Concentration factor, I'm sure Peter With will be looking for his players to maintain over the 90 minutes. I'm sure he doesn't expect a pure perfection. There's going to be the odd errant pass go astray.
I don't think Peter With will like tonight's game at all. You know, there's nothing for him to gain from this. They should win quite comfortably, and he wants to get through to the competitive stage of the tournament.
Hefty body work, coughs up position. Now plays forward for Thailand. Took a deflection and well taken by the goalkeeper. Safe way on his chest in the end. Nito's clearance was unconvincing, but off Kiatazuk for a throw. There's certainly no malice in the Philippines' tackles, or I think that would be something that Thailand wouldn't have wanted to see in the early stages. Loose challenges flying in.
It's a shame the whistle went there for the push. Would have been a nice chance there for the Philippines. And if that free kick's been given in the way of the Philippines, that's a shocking piece of refereeing.
Should have been advantage. And it has. Win Van Mew has made a mistake on the penalty, we feel. And now a second one. Because definitely the advantage would have been to the Philippines. Figueroa, the captain, over the ball. 30 years of age. Can he create something here? Pretty well struck, took a deflection off the top of the wall and just took it to way over the crossbar. I thought it did take a deflection. I might be seeing things, Jamie.
Do miss Doucet on the left-hand side, don't they, Thailand? Nobody else very comfortable using the left foot.
And that's a good ball in behind the defence. Nguyen gets forward, cuts back beautifully, and there's a chance. As the player concedes ground, but Anyurup keeps it alive here for Thailand. That was Tawat Chai. Again, another good run made down the right. That's where all the avenue of attack has been, on the right-hand corridor. It's one back here for Thailand. Kiatazuk spreads it across to Thanonsak. In turn, Warrawat. Quite technically gifted for a big man. They get a second chance at this. Suruchai. Good understanding between he and Thanonsak. And a nice run by Kiatazuk. He's capable of taking on defenders, but plays it back to his number 2. And this wouldn't worry Peter with, just a number of passes being strung together. Control from Thailand. Good attractive ball to the back post. Couldn't quite control it there. That was the big striker, Warrawat. Needed to be knocked down cleanly with the first touch, as the defenders was fully stretched there for the Philippines.
Actually, the big fella Warrawat's not exactly covered himself with glory in the first 30 minutes. And with the Sakisan and Suti sitting on the subs bench, that might be a bit of a worry for the big fella. I think they lose a lot without Sakisan. Warrawat's not the most mobile of players. I like the combination of Sakisan and Kiatisuk up front.
Played forward, but offside. There's the captain, Norman Figueiredo. Having said that, they look the better combination, certainly in Lebanon, but I thought the big chap did okay in the match against Indonesia. He actually ran off. Kiatazuk more than playing as an out-and-out centre forward, which surprised many. And I think it's part of the reason the Indonesian defence was a little bit out of sorts. Good overlapping run. And it's taken out for a goal kick. Well, I think their performance in Lebanon was full of merit. Thailand, a loss to Iraq in the opening match, 2-0, and then consecutive 1-1 draws, first against Iran. And Ali Daei had to come up with a 73rd minute goal to level that contest, and Sakasan scored in that match. He followed up with a goal against Lebanon in the 1-1 draw in Beirut. It was a good crowd, good atmosphere. Thailand needed to win that, as did Lebanon, to go through. And that's a yellow card on Temperosa. Rash challenge coming in on Warrawat.
Actually, the referee could have interpreted that as the professional foul with a clear run in on goal. Could have been a red card. Glad to see that he didn't. It would be a bit harsh on the very inexperienced Filipino side.
Ricardo trying to organise his wall. Turtzak can hit the free kick quite well.
Well, the two of them, Turtzak and Anyaruk, both good strikers of the ball. And I just wonder if there's something off the ball went on there. Always see a lot of pushing and shoving on free kicks and corner kicks. He's going down holding his face.
He's spoken to his assistant there, the Vietnamese referee. He looks a little bit perplexed and confused, actually. Is he calling for the linesman over again? I think he is.
I think he's forgotten which player the linesman indicated. My money's on Warrawat. Let's have a look, see if we can see it.
Oh, well, there was contact made, but he slow motion there, but he reacted very late, went to ground late too. They could ill afford a red card in this situation. I'm sure it won't be.
Well, there's not much contact there, is there?
Just basically flicked him. He's red carded Warrawat. Well, he's out for the semi-finals, the big striker. He can't believe it. And I'm sure the fans are similarly perplexed. Well, I'd like to see another angle on the replay. Warrawat's protesting, so is Suruchai, but it won't make any difference. Warrawat is out for the semi-finals. And does that carry a 2-match ban?
Yeah, I think that's him finished for the tournament. It's just, he's just shrugging the marker off himself there.
Just imagine that booking happening in England in the Premiership. It never happened because you see pushing and shoving, people trying to wrestle for position in that situation, dead ball. You know, it always happens. I think that is an awful decision.
On the other hand, David, if you go back to the World Cup in France, do you remember Laurent Blanc in the semi-final? Similar sort of situation. There was nothing really, but the player goes down clutching his face, and he missed the final as a result. Oh, it's taken the edge off the game, hasn't it?
Well, in answer to your question, Suti or Sakasan will play now in the semis and the final, but it does really rob Thailand of a bit of variety up front. He's such a big, imposing figure. Free kick taken, hits the post. Well taken by Turtsak. Great loop over the wall. So Thailand down to 10 men. Not the situation they would have liked. It's clipped to the back post this time. Kiatasuk providing the cross.
I fancy Thailand will up the tempo now, David. They'll be upset about that. They might have been holding back a little bit before, but they won't now. They'll want to knock in goals, and plenty of them.
Well, I think what they'll be upset at, Jamie, it's hard to judge from our position here, but if the defender's gone down and it's been play acting, well, he's cost Warawat a place in the semis and a potential medal, and that's a great shame, because we saw not a lot of contact being made. It's fairly deep angle that was viewed from, but usually you can judge a situation. I felt there was contact made defender to Warawat, and he just shrugged off the contact, and that was about it. That's not the way the linesman saw it. The official referee was certainly referring back to his assistant. Kiatasuk, good surging run, cuts back. Was he out over the byline? He was. And that's the linesman that made the decision to expel Warawat.
This was that free kick. This is a lovely strike. The keeper going the wrong direction, and that's a whisker away, isn't it, off the inside of the post. And actually that linesman on the far side, David, that's several decisions we felt he's got wrong. And Kiatasuk there thought he got that one wrong as well. Players clearly G'd up. I guess it's a nice talking point for John Dykes and myself at half-time. I'm sure we'll get a chance to look at that incident again.
Hopefully. I don't think they've got another angle of the incident. It would be lovely to see a close ISO replay, and that's Kiatasuk onside, and he goes for the shot. A very, very hard one to hit the target there, because the near post was covered by Mikado.
Don't mind seeing this free kick again. That's a lovely strike on the ball, and there were 4 players closing in. They all came onto the same post. If one had been on the far post, or the other post rather, would have been a tap in.
Also like to see a shot of Peter With. I'm sure that his anger would have dissipated, but being a big centre forward himself, he would have been in that situation many times. He would have certainly felt Warawat's anger, I'm sure.
Actually, with those sort of situations, if when Peter With was playing as a big centre forward, if the defender's given him a little bit of rough stuff, Peter was a good enough player to sort him out in a situation later on. He wouldn't get sent off in situations like that. He had a good disciplinary record, but he'd let the defender know what he thought about the situation. Warawat's a little bit naive, really.
So approaching half-time, 5 minutes of regular time remaining. There'll be a fair bit of stoppages in this first half, with the sending off and a couple of injuries as well. And Europe can't find a man with that final touch. without sounding like I'm repeating myself, it's something quite annoying about officials coming up with loose decisions that rob a player of further passage in a tournament. I must admit, fair enough if it was a legitimate red card, but I can't see how it could have been. It's clipped in. Onside is Third-Sack, or is he? No, offside the call.
Yeah, I fancy that call was right that time. Well, we couldn't actually see Third-Sack as the ball was played, but I think the judgment probably was right there. The problem the Filipino defence has is that they get plenty of bodies back, but they don't actually mark, do they? They don't get with the man. I think you're right, a foreign coach is absolutely essential if they're going to make any progress at all. And when you were talking earlier about how the Philippine side could progress, one of the options, given the close link between the Philippines and the United States, is maybe they could come up with some kind of scholarship scheme at universities, colleges in the States, whereby some of the best players could go and study there. Wouldn't cost the American colleges very much. Be good public relations, good for the players.
Daniel Sled's already one of those players, but it's not through an organisation between the Philippines FA. He's the number 24 on the pitch, already at college in the United States. Philippine parentage, as is Lee Gunn. His mother, I think, is Philippines, and he lives in Australia. So they've done a mini Lebanon in this tournament, looked outside the borders for some quality players, but know how much criticism Coach Scobola came up with in Lebanon, but I think it was unjustified, really, because the recruits on balance did a very good job. The band is playing, but there's no goals. Chiang Mai, perhaps this half has another goal left in it. Possession with Thailand. Surachai's done a fair job at midfield, playing more as a defender at least. Most of the attacks have come down the right-hand side.
Yes, in the absence of Doucet, they've got nothing going down the left flank at all. Ball's come out here, but keeps checking onto his right foot.
With a little touch on. Attempted 1-2 play for Third-Sack. I think he was checked just outside the area. So there was no whistle. Vietnamese referee. And Europe. Kiarazuk. Like to see him take on a few more defenders. And Europe to the back post. Player arriving late. Kiarazuk with the header, but doesn't make full contact with it. I think there's a good reason we don't see Kiarazuk dance around defenders, because he's a pretty wily, experienced customer. He won't be wanting to pick up an injury. The last thing he wants is his tournament finished by a flaying boot. And there's the brassware we were referring to earlier. Playing with great zest and a bit of timing as well.
Shades of the Chinese National Football League, where the army band is ever present. But I must say it's a little bit more improvised than the Chinese players, both on and off the pitch, actually, footballers and the musicians.
Taken first time, but that was poorly connected. Volley there at the far post. Tananchai getting on the end of that shot. Actually came off the bottom of his stud straight into the ground and rolled harmlessly to the goalkeeper. Talk about concentration, and we're out just overran the ball momentarily. Problem was there was no red shirt within 20 metres.
camera hasn't actually picked out Peter With since the sending off. I'm just wondering how he's orchestrating the team at the moment, because I thought they would really push for goals, but in fact they seem to be fairly composed about things. Quite happy just to knock the ball around still, not take any chances.
That's a long-range effort, wasn't it? Badly struck there by Surachai. 2 minutes of time added on. I thought it would be at least double that. There's no rhyme or reason, is there?
Well, we've seen some games, I think we had one with 5 minutes added on. There must have been more than 2 minutes just with the sending off incident alone.
Forward and a rare sortie forward by the Philippines. There's support in the middle and a chance. Needed a touch at the near post. It was Freddie Gonzalez getting in, and Marco Nito with that surging run down the right. Best moment of the match by a mile for the Philippines. Trying to chase the ball down. Only seconds remaining before the half-time whistle. Players streaming into the box, or do they? No, it's quite a patient build up here. Back post and the header by Kiatasuk, just wide. It was a dipping, but not enough. Suggested the flight should have taken a left-hand turn instead of a direct path past the back upright.
It was very carefully thought out, wasn't it? He knew exactly what he was trying to do. And he does milk the crowd, doesn't he, this fella?
Afterwards looks up to the crowd. They love him. Well, it's been success tinged with disappointment for Thailand. The first half, goals through Kiatasuk and Anyaruk have them 2-0 leaders over the Philippines, but the sending off of the big man Warrawat was a big disappointment at half-time.
And that's where we'll just say thanks to David Bash here. Jamie Reeves will come wandering in very shortly with a few thoughts on a slightly controversial first half. We thought we'd sit here and talk about goals, but as it stands, plenty more to talk about. We'll do that after a break. Before we go to the break, let's just remind you what's coming up on a big Day 9 in the other group in the Tiger Cup. Day 9 of the Tiger Cup, and it's D-Day for either Malaysia or Singapore. The two teams will be meeting for a place in the final four. While Malaysia need only a draw to progress to that last four, this could be the first time in the short Tiger Cup history that the holder has been eliminated at the group stage. All the action from Songkhla can be seen live here on Star Sports at 5:30 p.m. Hong Kong time. It's coming up on Monday, November the 13th. Welcome back. 2-0 to 10-man Thailand at the half at Chiang Mai. And there's a spot of alliteration for you. Let's just look back at the earlier Group A encounter, which saw Myanmar go into their match against the Indonesians with a chance. And if they could have got a draw, well, they would have gone through to the semi-finals. But it was a big if, because Gendut did this to them in the first half. Gendut Kristiawan played quite superbly. Turned well here. He got a bit of luck because it actually ended up deflecting in off the defender. But this was the goal that gave the Indonesians a 1-0 half-time lead. Jamie, let's have a look at some of the goals from the second. This follow-up by Gendut was very well done, but the keeper was unlucky.
Yeah, he was unlucky there. What was the defensive wall doing there? Have to ask.
It was a good free kick, smashed in by Bima Sakti, but as you said, the keeper wasn't helped a lot. So that was 2-0. It was to be a rout in the second half, 4 goals, and the best of them really, Kurniawan setting this beautiful one up here for Uston. I love the way Kurnia just set it up and wandered off.
Absolutely lovely balance from Kurnia, wasn't it? Just rode the challenge beautifully there.
Kept on his feet and just poked it with the left foot. Nicely done. The keeper coming up, but too late. The next two goals, the last two goals, in fact, went to Kurnia. This was a bit lucky because it bounced off Aji Santoso, but nothing lucky about the strike from Kurnia from outside the area. He's looking sharp again, this fella.
Well, he's blown hot and cold over the years for Indonesia. They had such high hopes for him a few years back, but he seems to be in pretty good nick at the moment.
This was nicely done, this goal as well. It was perhaps a hint of offside with Aji Santoso getting through on the left, but on the far post at the right time. Kurnia won.
It's a good striker's goal, isn't it, that? Centre forwards, I think marginally that was offside, but centre forwards do get these goals, the tap-ins. They're the important ones to score.
Oh, they also know that they have to follow in, and that's what he's done. That's a great job. And that's a great effort by Indonesia, because they will have been really upset by the 4-1 defeat. Still unconfirmed reports have it that Nanda Iskandar may have lost his job after that defeat at the hands of Thailand. The coach for this match tonight was Dananjaya, so we need confirmation, but it did look as if there was a change behind the scenes for the Indonesians there. Well, they obviously go to the top of the group until Thailand complete their expected victory over the Philippines. So you can expect Thailand to have 9 points and Indonesia to have 6 at the end of the evening. The only thing that's going to be up for grabs is what's going to happen in terms of goal difference. Now, the other thing we'll have to ask is who will Thailand play in the semi-finals? Because Group B looks a bit like this. Vietnam and Malaysia have 7 apiece. Singapore have 6. Cambodia and Laos out of the equation with 3 and none, respectively. Singapore play Malaysia. They must beat them to move on to 9 points. If Malaysia can get a draw out of that match, they will be going through. We're presuming here that Vietnam will beat the bottom side Laos in their last match, Jamie.
Well, I think that's a fairly safe assumption, and they'll score enough goals that Malaysia, even if they beat Singapore, can't catch them on goal difference. So it's Malaysia or Singapore. Malaysia, the draw will do for them. Singapore got to go for the win. And they finish with a couple of their most influential players off injured in the game yesterday against Vietnam. So you'd have to say the odds stacked against them. Malaysia also with 2 extra days break before the game.
Singapore-Malaysia is obviously a match that has a tremendous history to it. Do you think it's a good rivalry? Do you think it's one that brings out the best in both sides? Or is it one where, conversely, there's a bit of caution from the teams?
No, I think it's a good rivalry. I think the games between the two countries are usually good. And actually, Singapore have got a good record in the recent years against Malaysia. Whether they can do it this time, but I do think that they will go into the game feeling that they can beat this Malaysian side. Whether they can bounce back after disappointment, because I thought against Vietnam they played very well for 45 minutes, gave away a sloppy goal, and you know, they had 1 or 2 chances. At this level, you know, for this kind of tournament, you have to convert when you get the chances.
Well,
they didn't.
You won't get that many against Thailand. It does look, even if Singapore went through, or whether it was Malaysia, they would be playing a Thai side, which has scored a couple in a relatively meaningless match against the Philippines so far. Before we get back to Chiang Mai for the second half, let's just take a look at them. The first, obviously, from the penalty spot. The talking point came before this with the awarding of the penalty, as is always the case, but Kiatizuk even seemed rather subdued in his backspring, or backflip, or whatever you want to call it there. Flick-flack?
Round-off backflip.
Round-off backflip, thanks very much. He's a well-rounded sports commentator, as Mr. Reeves, it must be said. This was nicely done. I enjoyed Anuruk's work here. Got round, stayed on his feet, finished well. Yeah,
he's a good little player, Anuruk. I like his shooting from long range, but that was an intelligent run. Held his ground very nicely, tucked it away from a tight angle. It's the sort of goal that Mark Hughes used to score for Manchester United years ago.
Way back when, way back when. And right, Jamie, thanks very much. I'll let you get back to your triple pike dismount into the commentary box, and we will head back across now to our live pictures coming to you from the Chiang Mai Sports Complex. Let's hand you back to David Bashir.
The referee, Mr. Van Mew from Vietnam, getting the second half underway. It's Thailand 2, the Philippines 0. And the goals coming from Kiatizuk and Anuruk from the angle in the first half. And just repeating, the sending off of Warawat, red carded in the first half, has reduced Thailand to 10 men. The only chance in the match was created by that man Marco Nito for the Philippines. They were in attack early. Interesting to see the attitude of Thailand in the second half. They seem to just shut up shop after the sending off of Warawat. Philippines have not scored in this tournament. They were beaten 3-0 by Indonesia in the opening match, and a chance again for Thailand. The shot to the near post. Kiatasuk was eyeing off his second goal, and the defender goes down for the Philippines. It's kicked out by Mikado, and that's Temperosa going down. He was onside clearly. Good run by Kiatasuk, an excellent diagonal ball in. Perhaps one touch too many, because he had the keeper going to the near post and maybe looked up and thought the back post was the option, and then checked his shot at the last moment with the defender flying in. Temperosa just unsettling the star striker somewhat, who may have taken one touch too many. Persian Temperosa off the pitch now for some treatment on that right ankle. And I don't think we'll see Thailand shut up shop completely. We're looking for a couple of goals just to maintain the confidence for the semi-final. They'll meet either Malaysia or Singapore, you would think, because Vietnam will beat Laos in the final group phase on form anyway. Malaysia to play Singapore tomorrow night. Singapore have to overcome 2 days less rest and some injury concerns, and that last minute or second half goal by Vietnam in the group phase, where they controlled the first half. You talk about percentage of chances converted. Vietnam had one chance and they converted it. Singapore had about 3, and they failed to find the back of the net, and that's the difference. And now they're fighting with Malaysia for the semi-finals berth, so it'll be either Malaysia or Singapore to play Thailand in the semis. And there's a player free down the right, Tanan Chai. Here's the Philippines, who look a lot more purposeful early in the second half. There's a line of defenders there, and the captain, Norman Figueiredo, was just onside. Well, he was onside clearly, and again, why wouldn't you expect anything else? But you had another chance to look at the replay, Jamie, at half-time of the Warawat sending off. It looked a little bit more damning, didn't it, for the Big 14?
Yes, absolutely. I must say the technical boys did a great job there with the slow-mo and the pushing it backwards and forwards. You could see the right hand being thrown, and you've got to wonder, why on earth would he feel the need to do that?
In his defence, it's very hard from that longer angle, because it was a fairly, it wasn't as if it was a tight shot we saw. It looked a bit damning. I'm not saying it didn't look good for Warawat, but it wasn't definitive, I don't think, in my view anyway.
No, I think Peter With will be taking a very careful look at that. Of course, Warawat has got a history of indiscipline, but you know, he's one of these guys that you keep giving another chance and another chance. Peter Wid's got plenty of options though on the bench there. Sakusan coming in, or even Suti playing wide. It's just it removes one option, doesn't it? The aerial threat.
Early ball played in, and no connection for Kiatasuk. It's a very difficult header to hit on the angle, turning around. Very difficult header to get any pace on the ball as well.
Just wonder, David, you were talking just now about the semi-finals. Wonder if both of the finalists might actually come from this group in the draw. I think Indonesia probably looked the second best side in the tournament after Thailand, don't you?
I think on what we saw in the previous match against Myanmar, the answer is yes. There's one proviso. Malaysia look very gifted, and if they can put it all together against Singapore tomorrow, well, they still have to get past Thailand. That's the only worry. But I personally don't think Vietnam are in the same class as Thailand. So if it doesn't get to the home side, they should lift the trophy here. That was Niwiat was the number 3, just going down awkwardly on the ankle.
He kind of did the splits as well, didn't he, as he went down, and they really wouldn't want to miss him. Actually, he's played a different role, hasn't he, tonight? Because Chokatawi's out, he's played more central, and they've missed his runs down the right flank because he's a terrific athlete, isn't he? Gallops down that right flank and gets crosses in.
But what they've missed, I think Tannen Chai showed the coach that he can fill the void, probably not quite as defensively as Niwiat. He's got a big engine, as you say, and he can get back. And there's a big chance here for the Philippines, but the keeper on his mark there, Wurat, challenged strongly. Yeah, Tannen Chai more an attacking midfielder than a classic wing-back, which Niwiat is. But I think it's all a learning process for Peter With, mixing up his lineup, looking at the strengths and weaknesses of the team, and how flexible some of the players are. And this is exactly the sort of match you can do it in. We've got some options out wide now. And it's on the left-hand flank. This is where they can't quite cut to the byline. Galonsak has the tendency just to cut back on his right boot all the time. You mentioned Dusit's the only natural player in that position for Thailand. He's on 1 yellow card, so he hasn't been risked by Peter With. Here's Niwiat, who's back on his feet, doing some good work there. Tannen Chai. Good looking ball in. Mikado has to be strong and willing, and it's lobbed over the keeper's head. No, not quite. Didn't find the target. He had the right idea as the keeper was doubling back to the 6-yard area. Anyaruk, who's already scored in the first half, was looking to add another one there.
Yeah, it was intelligent from Anyaruk there. Good challenge on the goalkeeper from Kiatisuk as well.
Great name for a player. Jimmy Donna is about to come on for the Philippines, and Marco Nito has done a fair job in defence. He's off, but time to blood some youngsters and give them experience at this level. It's looking unlikely the Philippines will score in Tiger Cup 2000. Looking at their performance, it's a bit disappointing really, because they lost all 3 matches in 1998. 3-0 to Indonesia, but they scored against Thailand 3-1, and they put 2 past Myanmar, but Myanmar happened to score 5 that day. And it's a long-range shot that didn't find the mark by Tannen Chai. In 1996, they were beaten 5-0 by Thailand and 7-0 by Malaysia, so they improved in 1998. And I think they've taken another hop back. It's been the toughest group. No question about that, but there's been no real natural improvement since 1998, and the Asian Sea Games last year confirmed that they certainly were a long way behind their Southeast Asian rivals. It's unconvincing defence. Middle there, and Kiatisuk brings it back now, and that's a cavalry charge, so the brass band has certainly got some flexibility amongst their repertoire. Offside. Well, the player looked to be onside. The central defender was pushing up.
Look across. I think that the man in the middle there played him on the side as the ball was played.
Great effort there. And it's won in superb fashion by Turtsak, I think you'll find. On the far side. Surachai whips a nice ball in. Can't find its mark. The target was Kiatisuk at the edge of the area. Well, you wonder how far Thailand can go. And I mean that with all due respect to what Peter With has done. But have they got a ceiling of improvement, do you think, Jamie? Because obviously Kiatasuk plays overseas and he's shown the benefit of that in this tournament. They've got other very, very useful players without having another superstar. Turtsak makes a good run. Kiatasuk was onside, but surrounded by a number of defenders. Turtsak's got Tanachai running down the right, and again, I think you'll find if you look at the call, he looked suspiciously onside when it was played. He's onside clearly again.
Yes, that's another bad one. Going back to your question, though, David, we'll ignore the officials for a moment or two. Is there a limit to how far they can go? If they do stay at home, then there is a limit as to how far they can go. But quite a number of these players play in Singapore at the moment. Now, the S-League may not be the toughest league in the world, but they are over there playing against Caucasian players from Australia, from Croatia, from they've got Brazilians in that league. They're learning all the time. It's physically a bit more robust. And I think that's a good first stepping stone. Maybe a bit later on, a few more of them will go to Europe. It's difficult for players from this part of the world to go to Europe and to settle in. You know, the climate, the food, the physical combativeness and so on. But, you know, a little bit, stage by stage by stage, they can move on. And I think that's the great thing. The big leap forward for them was at the Asian Games, which of course were held in Thailand, when they got that magnificent win over Korea. When they were down to 9 men, they got a spectacular winner, so they got through to the semi-final. And you know, it was a marvellous moment for Peter With and for the team, and it gave them so much belief. They played against Brazil this year. Okay, they got beaten quite comfortably, but it's great experience for them. They keep moving forward. This generation of players have achieved a great deal. What's going to be interesting is what about the next generation?
I'm sure it's sparked a lot of interest in Thailand with you know, the kids wanting to play for the national team. I just hope Peter With stays for quite some time, and if they have to replace the big man, then that's a very useful ball played in. They replace him with someone that is of equal stature, because he's certainly done a lot for Thai football. But you were saying, forget about the officials for the moment as Thailand make the run through the middle. How can you when they've made about 5 or 6 clear mistakes? That's a great ball in the middle for Kiatasuk. They can't quite find a way through. Tanachai. Turtsak. Shot coming, and it just flashes past the near upright. That was the number 11, Tawat Chai. Fair strike off his left side.
Yes, it's his weaker foot. Quite a deliberate strike, wasn't it? He didn't go for full pace. Wanted to keep it down, which he achieved. Probably should have gone for the far corner, really.
Kiatasuk, the instinct, lovely back heel. Superb work. Tanachai whips it back. Nobody there at the near post, though. And you talk about instinct for players. Kiatasuk showed it there. Just, he had his body going one way and then back heeled it the other. Completely outfoxed the defender.
Great awareness of what his teammates were doing there. When the cross came in, there was only one blue jersey in there.
Turtsak had it hit quite nicely, but from a long way out by Kiatasuk. Very hard to beat the goalkeeper from that distance. The flag up on Troy Figueroa, who's the cousin of the captain, Norman. Just wonder whether there'll be fresh legs introduced for Thailand in the second half. I think it's almost inevitable, just to avoid injury and the Thai players picking up cards. Terdzak, he's done a very good job in midfield. Certainly staked his claim for a starting berth.
I think the official got that one right. Looked to be offside. I did just wonder, there's 30 minutes to go. Quite clearly for the next game, obviously they can't play with Warrawut, so someone else will have to partner Catty. So it might be a good idea to get the potential partner on the pitch now, so that they can just work on their understanding for the last 25 minutes or so.
Loose pass and Tanachai flying in. So Thailand throw in. Tanachai playing to find Kiatasuk with that pass. Chance for Philippines as they get players forward. Option down the right. Another overlapping player presenting himself, and that was the option that had the least chance of succeeding. Had to be perfectly timed, that ball. He was already offside there before the pass was even released.
Yep, no criticism that time.
Down the line, but that was a very hopeful ball. He would have to have been twice as quick as he is, Anyaruk, to chase that one down. What's been surprising for mine, Jamie, is the fact that there's been a lot of player watching by the Philippines midfield. They haven't been prepared to, at least to attempt to close down the Thailand midfield area. And it is surprising because they've got the numerical advantage. We would have thought a little bit of pressure, a little bit more pressure in midfield could have been attempted in the second half.
Yeah, it's a fair point, David. They've tended to just sort of channel back, haven't they, and not make challenges till it's the final third. Nice long rest after today for Thailand. They don't play the semi-final until Thursday. So that's an advantage over their opponents in that semi-final.
He tried, I think, with the outside of the boot to hit it to the far or the near post area.
If he'd succeeded, that was a goal, because Mercado had come a long way. He was covering the cross.
And he's falling away from the near post, so it would have been very difficult for the goalkeeper to redirect. Tanachai is one of those players that shows good awareness and got good pace as well. A useful cross. There he is on the ball, delivering to Terdzak, getting to the byline, back heel as well. That was a little bit too casual by Tanachai. That's where the Philippines have to release early. They've got a player on the right free. Gets past one man. It's a little bit better. A couple of passes strung together, and the shot on goal, the first clear opportunity really they've had. And it was Freddie Gonzalez, I believe, through the middle.
It's a nice ball played through to him. He had a lot of support as well. It was 3-on-2. Maybe there's an upset on the cards.
It's only 2-0. You know what they say about 2-0 scorelines? What do they say you're saying?
Exactly.
Okay. Well, they do say it's pretty hard to defend against that, but I'm sure Thailand won't be thinking that. Clipped back by Kiatasuk.
Yeah, 2-0's not dead and buried, is it? That's the point. 3-0 the game's all over. 1-0 you know you're still in trouble, but 2-0's always iffy. Don't think Peter With's very impressed with the officials either, David. That was another offside decision, I think, that was given there.
It wouldn't be the easiest of people to please, knocking on the referee's door after a match. Big hulking figure of Peter With, asking a few poignant questions. Another half chance here for the Philippines, and the foul's been given away. So this is where the concentration has to play its part. Really an unnecessary foul, because it was a nice defensive wall in front of that midfield player. And now we're forced to organise his wall.
Norman Figueroa took the other free kick they had in the first half with his left foot. From this side should be a right-footed player. It's a long, long way out.
That's it quite well through the wall. Chance here for the Philippines, but the flag was up, and all smiles from Temperosa. They're still searching for their first goal of the tournament. Two players clearly offside.
Well, they'd wandered offside even before the free kick was taken.
Well, good break for Thailand between this match and the semi-finals. Freddie Gonzalez offside. So a chance to have a look at the last matches in the final group phase tomorrow night. Sum up the opponent and start again in the planning process. And that's what Peter With is very good at. A couple of times in Lebanon, in particular against Iran, he really did shut down some of the Iranian stars. I think it was a masterful piece of coaching. Two of the Surachais played very well. I'm sure he'll be calling on that match in particular for a bit of inspiration to say what Thailand can achieve. But a totally different set of circumstances. They were the underdog clearly in that match. Now they're the overwhelming favourite. Just breaking down on the final touch.
I think, to be fair, David, what Thailand has that's so very impressive is that even when they are favourites, though, they don't seem to choke on that situation. Some of the other teams seem to have problems breaking down packed defences, whereas Thailand do seem to have the invention to do that.
Tawat Chai was nearly played through. Didn't have quite the pace to run down that ball. So approaching 70 minutes, and it's still Thailand 2, the Philippines 0. Just a reminder, Warrawat, the big striker for Thailand, was sent off red-carded in the first half. After what appeared to be a fist or elbow in the face of a defender. After the free kick was awarded to Thailand. It's clipped in nicely. Chance for the volley. It was more across really to the back post. Trying to pick out Turtsak. Made a nice diagonal run. I think he was in a 50-50 mindset there, not quite knowing whether to shoot from that situation. Perhaps was the best option really. Thailand create something here. Kiatisuk involved. Played at about half clip tonight. Spreads it wide. Tanan Chai This is where it just slows down a little bit for Thailand. Look at the wall of red shirts behind him. Good run by Kiatasuk. Continues to the byline. Needs support in the area though. And well, if he's going to make that run, the midfield must push up. That's been the problem really since the sending off. Just not quite prepared to make up the ground.
No, I'm pretty sure that Peter With will have told them to kill the game. Make sure you don't give a goal away. Don't take any chances. So even when Kiatasuk gets wide there, the midfield not really prepared to get into the penalty area. You do feel even if Thailand did concede a goal that they could up the tempo and pinch a goal or two for themselves.
One-two play, Kiatasuk through. Move in the offing there for Philippines. Happy for the moment just to keep possession away from the Philippines. And Europe was checked, and talk about milking a foul. He's almost piggybacking the defender there.
I think it's the other player coming in who takes him. Yeah, I think that was the late challenge coming in from Alvin Ocampo. Get the younger brother coming on. I think this is Dave Figueiredo, Norman's little brother.
Free kick for Thailand to the back post. Fisted away well by Mikado. Another good run. Flag stays down, but he can't keep it in play. Turtsak. Some musical entrance to the game. David Figueiredo coming off as Daniel Sled, the player that we previously mentioned was at college in the United States. Gets a bit of skin from his brother. "73 minutes in, Thailand 2, the Philippines 0. I suppose this is frustrating for the fans and perhaps in some cases the viewers, but it's a skill in itself to kill a match off when you're in front. Made famous by the Italians. Day, the history books record the results, and that's all that Thailand are interested in here. But I'd like to see Thailand tested in the semi-finals, and I think in the back of the mind of Coach Peter Withers, they had a pretty tough campaign in Lebanon. They have got good depth in their squad, Jamie, but they've been up a fair while. And the likes of Vietnam and Singapore, if they get through Malaysia, are relatively fresh. They're a very fit team, so I'm sure, barring injuries, running at the 90 minutes won't be a problem, but I'm sure that's a consideration he's factored into it.
Yes, a fair point, David. It's been a long, long stretch for them, really, going 4 or 5 weeks. I think the end's in sight, isn't it? And for the semi-finals, they'll be going down to Bangkok. There'll be big crowds there. There'll be a lot of excitement. Within a week, they'll be back with their families. Very surprised that he's not brought any substitutes on here. I thought he might have rung the changes a little. Obviously not bring on the 2 players who are on yellow cards, but maybe 1 or 2 other squad players.
quite, I was about to say quite composed, but then a little shake of the head. Couldn't be at the official there because the player was offside. Albeit very slightly offside.
Philippines had their little flurry there when they had a couple of half chances. Now the Thais just seem to have tightened up a little bit, playing keep ball.
Even when they get it in that situation, they're just prepared to get to the byline, and there's no real urgency. The players getting to the near post and supporting the wide player. That's all to do with the 2-0 cushion they have. Goal flurry at one stage, 2 goals within a quarter of an hour. Now the Philippines have possession deep in Thailand's half. Took a deflection off the defender and made it pretty easy taking the end for Wirat.
Poor choice, just going for a hopeful cross there. There were men on the outside of the box waiting in the middle.
It's hard to judge a form line across this performance really for Thailand. I think the clearest form indication was their performance against Indonesia. They showed with their 5-0 victory against Myanmar that they're back in good form.
That's the result I couldn't believe, David. I thought that would be very tight, that game, and when it was 1-0 at half-time I thought, well, OK, that's a fair reflection of the two sides. Indonesia a little bit streaky in front of goal, but eventually ran out very comfortable winners. I thought Myanmar were going to push them all the way. In fact, beforehand, to be truthful, I thought Myanmar would go through.
I think what's encouraging there, and it's going to be a big difference in the quality of defending for the semi-finals, but Kinnear won. Quite clearly a return to form and a timely one for Indonesia. One needed because they didn't score in the Asian Cup in Lebanon. 0-0 result with Kuwait. Just lacked the potency without Rocky in the forward third, so Kinnear one has to step up. He's charged to take greater responsibility. He did it against Myanmar. Can he do it further through the tournament in the semi-finals? Could well be an Indonesia-Thailand semi-final at least. Anyway, they can't make the semis. They're 1 and 2 in their group. What the experts were tipping before the event started. Here's Thanon Sak. Third sector, they'll just be quite happy to play the ball around now. That was a loose pass. Thanon Chai making the run down the right. But the problem there is that even if he got to the byline, there would have been a lack of bodies in the area.
Only 3 players went forward. There were 6 or 7 defenders back.
Space now in midfield. Terdstak spreads it wide. A rare sortie down the left-hand side. Getting forward Thanon Sak. Has he got a left boot? Yes, he has, but there was a player at the near post nestled there, Kiarasuk. So it was one time where accuracy was needed. Plays ole, 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 which they may be playing in Bangkok, depending on the result. It's Ali Bernard-Go, who played in the opening match. Philippines lost 3-0 in that particular encounter to the Nguyen. It's really keep off time for Thailand. Just running down the clock, 9 minutes left in the match. Kautasuk. Maybe a chance here. Will they take a shot? Kautasuk makes a good run. Flag stays down, but he runs out of room. A little bit too much carry on the pass. Had the right idea. But again, all he could have done if he got the ball at the byline was cut it back. And again, there was no real weight of numbers for Thailand in the box. Coming off Troy Figueiredo and coming on Ali Bernard Go. Down, Nguyen clears off his line. Well, the question, Jamie, is that every team can be beaten. There's no question about that. But do you see Thailand having a weakness? I'll ask you that as Tanachai whips the ball across the face of goal. Arriving too late was Zico at the near post.
Do they have a weakness? Well, they do have weaknesses. It depends at what level they're playing. I think in the context of Southeast Asian competition, they don't have any obvious weaknesses. They're not so great in the air in the middle of their defence, and maybe if at some stage they have to play Vietnam, maybe Lê Huỳnh Duc could cause them a few problems there. I do wonder if on the left side of their defence, if they are that good defensively. Ducet's terrific going forward. I'm not sure that he's really a defender at all. And again, Vietnam have got the players on the right flank who can cause problems, although they didn't show it against Singapore. Outside of that, I think midfield is very comfortable. I think they've got probably 5 or 6 midfielders who any other team in the competition would be delighted to have playing for them.
We know how potent they are up front, with Kautasuk leading the attacking zone.
And I think when they have Chokatawi and Surachai in the middle of the defence, I think they're very tidy in the centre of the defence there. They're a natural pairing because Surachai likes to sweep, Chokatawi attacks the ball, works very neatly for them. But maybe they're not quite so good in the air as perhaps they could be.
Surachai playing the ball through, but Kautasuk offside. Turczak, in fact, making the run. He's been a nippy type player. Very busy, especially in that first half. Took an excellent to free kick, hitting the post. Great technique on the free kick, dipping over the wall and hitting the back upright.
Players not really coming up in support of Kautasuk. That's why he has to check out.
Nguyen. I'll do it well here just to find an opening, but it's a blasting shot from 25 metres. Again, coming in from Tawachai. A couple of times he's chanced his luck from that distance.
Yes, I don't think Tawachai would be a first choice player. I don't think he'll start the semi-final. I think we'll see Surachai and Tawan Sripan come back in. Ducet will certainly play. I fancy he'll go for Sakisan up front alongside Kautasuk.
Chokatawi back in the middle of the defence as well.
So quite a lot of changes from this lineup, David, in fact.
Sure, the atmosphere will be electric with the home team making it to the semi-finals in the manner of which they've played. Bangkok crowd. Philippines come out quite neatly on the right-hand side. Early ball played in, but middle of the defence was up smartly. That was Niwiat.
When they do come forward like that, the Philippines, they don't really get the ball wide enough. Everything was compressed 15, 20 yards in from either touchline. Given that they've got the numerical advantage, it would make a lot more sense if they spread the play wide, both flanks, try and pull the Thais out of position. Having said that, Thailand just funnel back. They give them the half, defend in depth.
Foul on Jimmy Donner, so a free kick to the Philippines ahead of midfield. Will they attempt to blast one a long way out? It was a clear push from the midfielder. Figueroa, and that is very poorly taken. Not sure what he was trying to do from that distance.
Like a rugby player going for the conversion, wasn't it? Really a terrible technique on that one.
Almost like he looked like he sliced deliberately under the ball. Really is playing out time now for Thailand. They've got top position sewn up in this group. Indonesia and Thailand will go through, and it's just a matter of who will join Vietnam from the other group. Will it be Singapore or Malaysia? We'll find out tomorrow night. Of course, Singapore and Malaysia playing in the early match at 5:30. Vietnam facing Laos at 8 p.m. Hong Kong time. You can see both those matches on Star Sports. Should be a very exciting finish to the group stage in the Tiger Cup.
Certainly the Singapore-Malaysian game is the most tense fixture so far, I would have thought.
Yes, Kiatazu. He scored once, cuts it back nicely, taken first time, and it's just wide. Unselfish play. Tawat Chai was the midfielder joining in. He is a very unselfish player for all his flamboyance. He is very much the team player, Kiatazu.
That's why he's so important to the team as well, because if he just did it for himself, the team would think, oh, it doesn't really matter. But he does, he works for the team, and they love having him there. The team is lifted by Kiatisuk's presence. That's why I like his partnership with Sakusan so much, because they both really, really work hard. And as in most things in life, you get an awful lot by working hard at it.
That line about inspiration and perspiration.
10% of the former, 90% of the latter, isn't it?
Exactly. Kiatazu dribbles past the defender and is pushed, and the linesman was on the mark and has come up with the right decision. There's a player down for the Philippines, self-induced, I think.
Kiatisuk just put his body across there. Sure at what stage the injury occurred.
Raymond Tonog, the player who went down very late.
I just think he's very tired, David. He's worked very hard. He's not done badly, the big number 5, actually. It was a deliberate policy by the Philippines to bring in some big lads at the back. And, you know, they haven't, I mean, they've only conceded 8 goals in the 3 games. And, you know, in the past, they've let in 5s and 7s and all sorts.
Oh, he hasn't even gone close to finding the mark there, Tawat Chai. 2 minutes of time added on. So it looks like the Philippines will go through without scoring a goal, but many thought they may concede more than 2 against Thailand. I'm sure the sending off didn't help the home team's cause, Warawat being red carded in the first half. And Mikado can hold his head high in the Philippines goal. He's had a very good tournament. Very safe in the air and pretty pretty good from the clearance as well.
I think he'll have expected a much busier night tonight than he's actually had. That was a nice piece of skill, wasn't it?
To be Norman Figueiredo. Some firecrackers going off in the background. A bit early to celebrate. Haven't lifted a trophy yet. But perhaps Chiang Mai bidding farewell to the national team who are heading to Bangkok. Sure, this is in the FIFA regulations. The skyrocket display. Seconds remaining in this match. And the Philippines clear from their own half. A shirt pulled and a free kick for Thailand. And that is full time in Chiang Mai, and convincing, if not unspectacular, victory for the home team after they were reduced to 10 men in the first half. The sending off of Warawat, the goals through Kiatazuk and Anyuruk in the first half paved the way for a comfortable victory. So Thailand finish on top of the group with a 2-0 victory here over the Philippines.
David Bashir, thank you and well done. Fireworks going off overhead in Chiang Mai, but not too many on the pitch. A bit of a flat second half, that one. Thailand had the job done, as we heard, by half-time. OK, let's just reconfirm how it's finished up in the group. No great surprises. Thailand with 9 points from their 3. 9 goals for, 2 goals against. Indonesia then second place thanks to their 5-0 thrashing of Myanmar earlier on. 6 points from their 3, just that 4-1 defeat at the hands of Thailand, really letting themselves down. Myanmar did well and had a chance of getting through to the semi-finals, but will have to settle for third place. The Philippines unfortunately go home without having scored a goal. But I tell you what, Edmundo Mercado has just been named man of the match. The Philippine goalie only conceded 2 in this match, 8 in the tournament. And I think that's a nice little touch there, because the Thais obviously didn't really make much of an effort in that match. Well, Jamie Reeves is hot-footing it round here to give us his thoughts on Thailand and, I suspect, their chances in the rest of this tournament. We'll take a break and come back with more from the Tiger Cup.
Oh. Oh my word. That went on and on and on.
It did, didn't it?
We've been in there hours, Nancy.
Oh.
Highlights from that.
About 50 seconds, I think.
Thanks, Andy. Oh, sorry. It's all right.
So you're sticking around for Premier League, are you, Reva?
Yeah.
Which one are we doing, Leeds or Liverpool? Chelsea Leeds. Oh, that'd be good.
That'd be cracking.
Get back up. And Daryl's coming in, yeah, for that,
Yeah.
is he?
1970 FA Cup final.
Exactly. So the final score is, I suppose, very encouraging for the Philippines. 2-0, it's gone to Thailand, not a Thailand playing at full strength, and of course the Thailand side reduced to 10 men during the first half. Thailand win the group. Second half highlights, well, won't be too many of them. Kiddizuk had a bit of a charge. I'm surprised he didn't shoot earlier. He dummied the shot, and by the time he did get it off, Mikado tried to give him another chance, but Jamie Reeves, it didn't really happen.
Right, this was in the first minute in the second half and was probably the most exciting moment. I agree. Should have taken the shot a little bit earlier.
You know, if they are missing Warrawoods, as they will be, because he's going to be suspended, I'd be a bit worried because they didn't really look all that clever up front from his dismissal onwards.
This was the best chance the Philippines had throughout, and actually he had plenty of support on there. It looked a bit clumsy as he gets the strike in here. It's obviously on his wrong foot, and he doesn't get the non-striking foot alongside.
No, that looked a little basic. Reasonable strength on the shot, and just as we came towards the end, Mikado going for the acrobatics. That one's gone wide, and well, congratulations to our hard-working videotape operator and editor, Mr. Kuna, who's come up with some highlights for us there. Jamie thought there weren't any, but that's just you being a perfectionist, Mr. Reeves. That's how the group has finished up then, with that 2-0 victory for Thailand. Obviously the class act in Group A. The Thais, Indonesia, bit of a roller coaster for them, but they bounced back when it mattered most earlier today with a 5-0 against Myanmar, who I think are a team for the future. And they will have to settle for that third position. Indonesia 6, Thailand 9. Thailand will play the runner-up in Group B. Indonesia will play the winner of Group B. And I said it, now here's confirmation of it. That's the way it's going to pan out, and we can now figure out who's going to be through from one group, but it'll be up to tomorrow's showdown between Malaysia and Singapore to decide exactly who plays who. Malaysia would need a point from that one. Singapore definitely need a victory, and that match is coming to you live on Star Sports from Songkhla. That's our first match. Second up, Vietnam will be, one would imagine, rounding off a winning showing in the group by beating Laos, bottom of the table. So that's the match to look forward to, Singapore against Malaysia. Let's just get the thoughts of Jamie on that one. And also, Jamie, whoever wins it, would they look at Thailand and say, well, maybe they're not that invincible after all?
Oh, I think so. They will feel that they can go into the game with some semblance of a chance. As to who will win the game between Singapore and Malaysia, recent history says that Singapore are in with a good shout, but I do feel that Malaysia are on the up and up at the moment. They look a bit fitter. They've had 2 extra days to recover. Singapore, it was a big blow to them losing to Vietnam. Nazri Nazir's got a nasty bump on the head. He's got a cut with some stitches in it, I understand. And also Zulkarnain Zainal's got a bit of a knock. So I think that the odds must favour Malaysia at the moment.
And just one last thought on Thailand there, Warrawoods. I mean, we have to go back over it. The last thing they really needed, getting to the final stages of the tournament, losing a man like him.
What did you, before the game, you said to me, what will they say? I said, first, don't get hurt. Secondly, don't get yellow carded. It didn't even occur to me that someone would do something stupid and get red carded. So he's out. But Saki-san's a good substitute, and they can bring Suti on as well if necessary. So I don't think it's too big a problem.
They've got the players. Jamie will be back with us tomorrow. Thanks very much for joining us tonight, Jamie. And thank you for joining us for this concluding stage, as it were, in this particular group. One more round of matches, 2 matches in total to be played in Group B, and then we're on to the knockout stage of the Tiger Cup 2000. Watch it all the way through to its conclusion right here on Star Sports with us. Why don't you? Until the next time, goodbye.